Welcome to the Future in 15 show. I'm host Caleb Parker. If you're tuning in for the first time, the Future in 15 show is 15-minute interviews with entrepreneurs and business leaders who are innovating within their company and creating the future of their industry. Welcome to the Future in 15 show. I'm show host Caleb Parker. We're here in London today at etc.venues County Hall in partnership with IACC, the International Association of Conference Centers. Today we're at their hashtag IACC Knowledge Fest conference for a partnership special feature of the Future in 15 show of 4 panelists. And I'll introduce those right now. So to my left we have Maggie Lyons, who is the Director of Marketing and Sales for the Linsbury. We have Alistair Stewart, who's the MD for etc.venues. We have Heather Swatkins, Client Services Director for VenueDirectory.com. And last but not least, Mark Noonan, COO for Meetings Booker. So there's a big elephant in the room that we're going to discuss today, and that is online bookings. Should we as a sector enable customers to book our small meeting rooms online? Entrepreneurship is exploding across the UK and globally. Corporates are shrinking their footprints and relying on external meeting rooms. In the UK alone, 400,000 meetings take place annually for delegates of less than 10 people. That's a £93 million market. The barriers between work life and the personal life are breaking down due to technological changes and generational shifts. What we do in our personal lives, we want to do in our work lives. Today, people are used to booking all kinds of services online or through a mobile experience. They want to do the same thing with meeting rooms. But there's some challenges that we need to discuss, some real and some perceived. So today, we aim to solve that. My first question is for you, Maggie. So the Linsbury has taken a reserved view on online bookings. Can you tell me why?
Yes, of course I can. Firstly, we're an independent organisation with naturally limited budgets. And of course, as you say, entrepreneurs are showing innovation in the way that they book. However, we had to look at our own systems, our internal systems. And in the end, it actually came down to our human resources and making sure that we have the right people, the right training, the right lead catchers, and the right approach. Because hospitality now is not just about meeting the people and greeting the people, it's the first impression that they get when they go online.
Ah, okay. So would you say it's less about technology and it's more about having your team ready to support the additional business that technology may bring in?
I would say it's 50-50.
Okay.
I'm being cautious, yeah.
Thank you. Alistair, etc.venues has had your own online booking system for some time now. You chose to develop that yourself. Could you talk about some of the challenges that you've overcome and some of the success stories as well?
We sort of developed version 1 of our online booking about 5 years ago. The reality of that was it sort of masqueraded as being online. As you see actually across a lot of other organisations even today, where you have to fill in some kind of an inquiry form and then you send an email off and people are calling that online. Version 3, skipping forward, was the real breakthrough for us because we link it to live availability. So on our website you can now book in real time a meeting, or even quite a large event, and you can, if you choose to, you can go right through and pay for it on credit card. So it's a proper online live availability booking system.
And has that been successful? Have you seen ROI on that now?
It depends how you define success. I think it's successful in that we're one of the very few organisations to have broken through to do live availability, and in terms of the number of people that go through to actually book and pay, it's still less than 1% of our revenues. But if you include various other features of our website, then we're up to about 5% of revenues now, which is well over £2 million worth of revenue. So, yeah, in my eyes, it's successful and it's doubling every year. And the trend is inevitable.
Thank you very much. Heather, I understand Venue Directory provides an online booking tool for venues who don't want to necessarily invest in building their own tool, but they still want to give customers the ability to book direct on their own website. Can you talk about some of the success stories that you have had from venues that have implemented your tool?
I can, yes. At Venue Directory, we offer the venues their own portal called My Events Channel. And within that portal, they can update all their venue data, which then gets sent out to anyone who wants to use that data. And within that portal, we have a facility where they can subscribe to a live availability widget. That widget can be placed on their own individual website. We give them the code for that. And that enables them to access the technology to put their own inventory in, keep their inventory up to date, and then drive that widget so that an end user can go online to their own website, select the dates, meeting facilities that they're looking for, and like yourself, Alistair, go through to the end where
so they can book and pay for it online.
Pay online, absolutely, yes.
And some of the venues that you've onboarded for that, are there any success stories that you can talk about?
Yeah. Strand Palace in London.
Strand Palace?
The Strand Palace,
okay.
Yeah. They have implemented it on their website. They have done e-shots. They actively market it within the business so that if, for instance, someone isn't there to take a phone call, the switchboard will actually direct people to that page. They put it on things like their email footer, book live availability if you've got a small meeting.
And so they're seeing bookings come in through their own website now because of that?
They do, yeah.
Do you have any, can we talk about any specific numbers or no?
They're getting the return on their investment, that's the main thing.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Mark, Meetings Booker provides a similar type of tool for venues to allow customers to book direct. I've experienced myself hearing from venues different challenges. What are some of the challenges that you see venues having when they come to you about implementing a tool like this, and how have you overcome them?
Yeah, I suppose the starting point is the proposition itself. How do they actually convert that to a truly online experience? So we are, our DNA is a marketplace. So we've, millions of users across, of visitors across the globe that we can use data to actually refine our technology set. So we share that technology and learnings with all of our venues as well. So we rigorously test the platform and provide an optimal booking funnel. So that's the main thing, I suppose, the overall online proposition. They can leverage the learnings from the marketplace and have the exact same technology on their site. The other thing is, as the other panelists have said, is the payment side of things. We believe we've a true end-to-end payment solution, and payments is a huge pain point and a challenge, obviously, for venues as well. Our technology partnerships allow venues to recoup all of their revenues within 30 days of the actual meeting occurring. So from a cash flow perspective and the challenges around that, this greatly enables them. Outside of standard other trading terms, we'd have 60-day or 90-day payment terms when it's a standard invoicing solution. So our payments solution, I think, is extremely robust, and it again can leverage the actual marketplace. On top of that, they can go either a direct route or the marketplace. So from a yielding perspective, they can yield all of their rooms on the marketplace, or they may not. They may just want to use direct traffic, and then if they have any excess inventory, they can actually yield that out to the marketplace. So our system fully automates that, particularly in short lead time bookings. So they can take a dual approach. It's not an all or nothing that you either go direct or you go marketplace. We offer that kind of rounded solution where they can pick what suits their business model the best.
Okay, I want to dive into some of the challenges, because I think a lot of the audience in the room today is probably thinking a few barriers to being able to enable online bookings. So I want to come back to you on this. What are some of the challenges that you have faced? And hearing now Heather and Mark talk about this, are there any questions you can ask them right now that would help?
Yeah, I'm still coming back to people, because historically the pain that venues have had is being offered the opportunity to update everybody else's website with our inventory, and to pay commission to organisations. And we're moving away. I could talk about bedrooms because that is the elephant in the room.
We
fact,
will come
yeah.
to that.
How-
But if we talk about direct
Yeah.
bookings to your own website,
So having direct bookings and leading everyone to our website is precisely where we want to go with this. But of course, being a small independent organisation, there is naturally a reticence. Having the resources to have somebody to sit and fulfill lots of websites and portals on a quite regular basis is something that we've really had to look into. The service that's being offered is you can upgrade, you can do your press releases, but you have to supply it. And small organisations don't necessarily have the correct approach to actually fulfilling the objective of getting more business in through manpower and marketing. We're still a little bit in the old traditional world of hospitality is people buying, people who offer a service. And convincing senior leaders that we've got to do a lot more online and that we've actually got to drive stuff through to the website first. And this is where I see ye as being slight interrupters, actually, because you're not driving them to our website in real terms. We're helping you to drive business to us, but we're doing the work for you as well. That's our perspective.
so Alistair, I'll get you to chime in on this. In terms of an online booking tool on your own website, whether it's provided by a technology service provider or whether you build it yourself, I think Moggy's feedback is it's a challenge to keep it updated, make sure that we're managing the bookings or inquiries that are coming through. How are you handling that?
Well, we've got slightly more resources than Morgan. I think that's a fair point. It's not very difficult, actually, and it's a lot less difficult than a lot of people imagine once you've done the sort of basic work. And I think the cost of doing it is coming down dramatically. So I think the availability of producing an online booking for your own venue for the venue industry is getting better and better day by day.
Okay.
Yes, there is, as Morgie says, a clear agenda for some of the intermediators out there, and I think, you know, here we are at an IACC event, and it's a collection of venues, and we need to think very carefully about not making some of the mistakes that the hotel industry have made, where they've let some of the intermediators in, and I think it's an interesting time at the moment because we're seeing some of the big hotel groups really push back about driving traffic to their own website.
I have a question for you on that same topic coming up.
Okay.
Could we?
Sure.
Yeah, I want to come back to that one. But I want to stay with you, Alistair. I have another question for you. So you guys have clearly been growing year on year, and you have a lot of data on your clients' usage. I'm curious, with your online booking tool, you touched on it earlier, the percentage of your small meetings that are booked, how many of those are going through your online booking tool in terms of percentage versus going through traditional methods? And what are you seeing is the profile of that customer booking online?
Well, the first thing is you're right that we have got a lot of data, and we are very protective of that data, and we do not want that data to be seen or shared by anyone else. And Morgie's absolutely right that if you start to go through some of the third-party channels and portals, they will collect that data and they will relentlessly target those customers. So
is that why you chose to build your own?
Absolutely, and why we are incredibly careful about who we share that channel with and who we share our data with. And that lesson has been learnt in the hotel industry, and in the venue industry we must not repeat those mistakes.
So are you open to sharing with the audience here what percentage of bookings that are made through your booking channel, through your direct booking channel for small meeting rooms are actually online versus the traditional method of booking?
Well, what I can share is that for those people who tend to man their sales offices with human people 9 to 5, the majority of people who book online are not booking 9 to 5. And we see quite a lot of international customers who may be working in different time zones using the website and the booking. I think, look, I don't think it's a great secret that the average booking for online is around about £1,500, so that would suggest it's in the sort of category of 10 to 12 people. And then I think, etc.venues as a brand is thinking quite carefully about how many small meeting rooms we actually want to have, because it's a very fragmented, competitive marketplace. And
Are you thinking you're going to add more? Or
no, I'm
take
going to add
away?
less.
Have less?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because inevitably, I accept the premise that people who want a 2-hour meeting or 3-hour meeting or less, they probably want to book it online. I don't actually want people in my meeting rooms for 2 or 3 hours. I probably want them there for most of the day. And it's going to be the convenience of that office in the proximity to where probably they're at that's going to be the big driver, rather than the sort of tech services we can offer, or the food or the service or the ambience. I think that will become less important.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Heather, I have a question for you. I understand that 74% of all the bookings that go through your channels are for meeting sizes of 30 people or less, so small meetings.
Yep.
So can you talk about the profile of customers that are booking for these small meetings, and why should we think about bringing them onto an online booking perspective,
Yeah, sure.
experience?
The data that you're talking about is predominantly booking agents, central res offices and convention bureaus that use my booking tool gratis. And that booking tool enables these businesses, agents, CVBs and central res offices to book, and they're booking mainly for corporates. So their own individual clients, mainly corporates, a few privates, but not a lot, to be fair.
In terms of these bookings that are coming through this channel, they're not being booked, most of them are not being booked through an online experience.
No, they're not. So they're being
Why
booked,
should they?
They're being booked through the agencies, and traditionally an agent will offer maybe 4 or 5 options. 4 or 5 options with an average of about £450, £480, and they're doing an awful lot of work on the venue finding side to try and convert a very small booking. So the idea would be that if you can actually book live availability for, as Alistair says, a small meeting, half a day, a few hours, it's a commodity. It doesn't necessarily need the high touch, lots of detail. They need a bit of refreshments, they need to be able to come and go. And pay for it. And we see it as a transaction as opposed to a experience or where active selling is required. Sure. But it also enables the venues to mop up on that last minute availability. We're not talking about they load their inventory for 6 months' time, because that potentially would block out a very large event. So maybe keeping that inventory up to date sort of 3, 4, 5 weeks in advance, keeping an eye on it, blocking it out if you need to, but being able to get that last minute business, which can make all the difference.
Thank you. Mark, traditionally Meetings Booker has been a B2C channel, but recently you're now supporting big agents. You just did a deal with CWT, Carson Wagonly. What drove them to do a partnership with you?
Going back to my, I suppose, original point on the automation side of things, our platform can provide them with a lot more efficiencies, particularly in the small meeting space. The handling costs of those type of small meetings can be inefficient when done manually. So what we've provided them is a scalable solution that they actually can provide to their client base. The other side of it as well is their actual clients themselves were looking or demanding for an online solution. Every other touch point that they have in their business travel needs is online, and then small meetings is that jarring exception. So I think we have to be mindful of the fact that there's a market demand for the automation of meeting room bookings as well, to make it as simple as possible. I think the days of having to phone up and get invoices and then get a confirmation of availability are gone, and the clients are actually demanding that. The other side of it as well is obviously our global reach and the density of venues that we had. A lot of Carson Wagonly's clients are obviously multinationals, so they have multinational needs in terms of their meeting requirements. So they need to have a density of venues that they can go, be it London, Paris, Berlin, that they actually can have their meeting needs fulfilled in one ecosystem. The other thing then, a big primary development now that will be important for the latter half of the year, is how actually their clients and their corporates address the meeting space as a whole. There's a few fundamentals. One is payments, again, how actually they handle payments and how they track the costs of all of those small meetings. That to date has not been very well automated, so the clients now have visibility on their total spend across their meeting space. They have a payment solution now where they actually can store either business cards or lodge cards and make it easy for their actual employees to book meeting rooms very, very easily. And then again, even on the density side of things, the demands, in particular in some of the tech sectors, that, you know, people are surprised when I say this, but over 50% of our venues are actually non-hotel. So they're looking for a diversity of actual a venue ecosystem as well. And I think today's example is an example of that. So there was a range of reasons why you know, they selected us, but like I said, from the client demand perspective, particularly tracking costs, approvals, all those elements are vital elements for large organizations to control their meeting spend, and our platform provides that for them.
Well, I think it's clear that the efficiency is a big driver for online bookings, both on the venue side and the client side. But I think it's important to point out that before we go to the next question, that we're talking about providing a customer with an online or mobile booking experience, primarily to this point, where a venue can accept direct bookings, either building their own platform or by utilizing someone else's platform to drive those direct bookings. But that does lead me to my final question, which is a two-part question, and I want to start with you, Alistair. As the meetings world moves to bring meeting room bookings online, there is a big question, and you've touched on it already. There's a big question about third-party marketing channels, whether we should use them, and which ones, if we do, which ones make sense to use. Can you discuss that? Can you talk about even some challenges around using them? You touched on that earlier, but are there certain marketing channels that you think we should use?
Yeah, I think it's evolving very quickly. I think in etc. we've been fairly open, or certainly I have been over the past couple of years, saying that, you know, we must not repeat the mistakes of the hotel industry, who let some of the .coms, you know, get a real control of the marketplace. The naivety of some venues and hotels where they just didn't realise that the .coms were going to buy their URL, and then they could Google their own venue name to only find they're sitting sort of page 2. That has not happened in the venue industry. So I think, you know, think before you click. That Hilton are running, Marriott are running it. I've seen, you know, there's been the big row between Expedia and one of the large hotel groups. I'm delighted to see those coming to the surface now, so that everybody can think. The arguments that are made can be persuasive. Cash flow, you know, Morgie's saying that it shouldn't necessarily have the funds as a small venue to set it up. I think you just got to weigh it up all very carefully. And it's inevitable that the small meetings market is going online. I think it's interesting that Venue Directory classify that as under 30. Earlier you talked about under 10, and I think, you know, whether it's kind of 15 or 10, I don't necessarily agree that 30 is a small meeting, but certainly anything less than 10, and the statistics you gave earlier is that is just one direction of travel. And then for venues, I think we can have a choice about how many small meeting rooms we want to offer. And in some cases, we're out in the countryside. You know, there's very little local 2-hour meetings. In some cases, some of us are in the city, and there might be more of an argument. But I think the debate is a good one, so everyone can weigh up the merits.
Thank you. So the second part of the question is over to you, Mark. Your B2C business is basically a third-party marketing channel. That's what Meetings Booker grew up as. Can you talk about the benefits of partnering for venues to partner with a business like Meetings Booker?
Absolutely. In terms of going back to the points, it's down to individual choice. I think in the ideal world, and I've come from the other side of the fence as well, in terms of working with partnerships, what you want is 100% direct traffic. We can provide the technology for that if you wish, because if you don't have the resources to do that, we can provide that. On the marketing side of things, the brass tacks of marketing from an SEO perspective, we are very, very strong. So you can actually have density and penetration that you probably never could if you were developing your own site. So we can provide that reach globally. We are kind of market leader in that. So that from a marketing perspective, that's the ultimate really, I suppose, from a search perspective, is that you can provide that reach to venues that don't have individual marketing spends, don't have SEM spends, that they actually direct market. That's a very, from a cost effectiveness perspective, and to particular CPA in the meeting space, which is kind of my background, is still extremely high. And we can provide a more efficient channel for you to do it. It can be complementary with your direct strategy as well. So do your direct approach in terms of direct marketing. But from a yield management perspective, if you have meeting space that's unused, that's an inefficient use of your space. So by using a complementary marketing source, be it a platform, it can only be upside. The critical thing is it incremental? Are you getting incremental business? And if you are, that should be sufficient for the model. The data side of things is interesting on the other side of it as well. From our side, through white label technology, if you have white label and they booked you, we don't remarket to that white label side either. So you do have control of your customer base, and that's the other side of it as well. It can be deemed a lead generation piece as well. So when someone books with you for the first time, say through our marketing platform, you can obviously follow up with them and then resell the benefits of them revisiting the platform as well. So that gives it, from a lead generation perspective as well, it's actually a very useful and efficient tool.
That is an interesting point. If someone books a small 1 hour, 2 hour meeting in your space, that could be a lead for a larger conference in the future. So a good point. Would anybody else like to add any bit to this last part?
Yeah, I'd just like to say that it's over a year since we reviewed the situation, and obviously things have moved on. You sound quite compelling in the way you tell the story of Meetings Booker, actually, and the development of Venue Directory as well. You're clearly moving on and out there to potentially help the smaller organisations. Whilst I appreciate fantastic contract with CWT, and I'm sure they've thrown out some other ineffective system for that, so congratulations on that. I think it might help people in the room to actually explore that a little bit further.
Heather?
Just one thing, if you're updating your venue directory profile, which you do regularly anyway, on the My Events channel, you can just update the live availability at the same time. So from a resource point of view, it can be done at the same time. You're not having to go anywhere else.
Well, it's clearly a hot topic. What's that?
That was a good USP.
Yes. Well, this is clearly a hot topic that I'm sure will be discussed for many months to come. But until next time, thank you for tuning in today.